It is Tuesday evening, which means one thing and one thing only in my circle, and that means it is Going for Two Lives, the Fantasy Cheat Sheet presented by Going for Two Live. Make sure to go over to all the social platforms. Go to YouTube if you're on YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment if you're on Twitch. Do the same. I just want to talk football, so let's just get right down into the show. Let's introduce the guys and get going. First off, we got my boy Jamie. What is up, Jamie?
What's going on, man? Let's get ready to talk some football.
All right, and special guest, no other than the Gator man himself, even though he is a Florida Gator fan, Gator J, Fantasy J. What are you up to, man?
Man, it is Tuesday. It's the start of the fresh new football week. You know, we got waivers coming tonight. You got to get those going. So, man, I'm ready to go. I got a couple leagues that I'm right there on the cusp of, and I got a couple leagues, like Scott Fishbowl, where I'm going, whatever. It's always next year, right?
We will definitely get in. When part of mine, I'm definitely going to get into some of those matchups that are either do or die. So we'll get into that in a little bit. Let's just start off the night, boys, with a little bit of news. We won't go too far into it, but there is definitely news that is fantasy significance. We'll do on the outside on this one. I know Gator J is going to get deeper down on this injury later, but just on the surface, Cooper Kupp is put on the IR after having ankle surgery today. Jamie, real quick, what does this do for the Rams' chances in general?
I mean, they were already looking pretty rough there. It just hurts them a lot more without the number one receiver, but hopefully someone steps up.
Yeah, Gator J, same question to you, my man.
Man, the Rams are already having a rough season all around. Yep. So this just the old saying, it puts a wrinkle in the iron or whatever. Yep. And this don't put a wrinkle. This puts a crease. This is a crease.
All right, so I'm just gonna call it. I really do, and I'll be bluntly honest. And Gator, right before we got on air, you asked me a question about what's this. Are we dynasty or redraft? I'll be bluntly honest. I don't care about the Rams season. What I care about is the league that I won the championship last year. My star player is Cooper Kupp, and I'm in second place. And this is going to be such a big ding on my team that I am afraid that this is not going to let me win the chip again. But hopefully I can get the chip. The next piece of injury news. Unfortunately, Zach Ertz is out for the season. Hurt his knee. My question to you, Gator, isn't what does this do for the team in general? To me, what I want to know, Gator, in your opinion, who does this help the most when it comes to targets?
Well, the obvious is McBride, right? I mean, in my opinion, it's got to be McBride. He's a rookie, yes, but he's had what 90% targets or a 90% snap share at times. So, and if he can Kyler just needs to get in the ball, and I think that with no competition in front of him, this will be the opportunity to go get him to move forward and actually progress his career. Whether it's this year or moving into next year. I think there's some contract stuff for next year with Ertz. So, that might be a little sneaky little buy now quickly before it's too late for McBride.
Yeah. So Jamie, I already know how you feel about McBride, but what do you think how do you think this helps the wide receivers, especially when Hollywood comes back?
I mean, when Hollywood comes back, he'll definitely get targeted more. Ertz was already a top 3 tight end. I'm interested to seeing the splits between Max Williams and the rookie McBride. I want to see the snap share targets, see how they distribute them. I'm hoping they use McBride more because, he was a highly drafted rookie, and I just want to see his skills flash for the future.
Yeah, for sure. The next piece of news, Khalil Herbert got put on the IR. I think this was kind of seen. The team's not doing great, but on top of it, you don't want to risk a guy who has a hip injury, especially being young, and especially, in my opinion, I think he is the future of that team because my personal belief is that David Montgomery will not be the running back for the Bears next year. But, Jamie, what do you think about David Montgomery for this year and the rest of the season with him out?
It definitely helps him because now who's behind him? That Travis, what's his name? Tristan Ebner. So I'm wondering how they're going to incorporate him with Herbert out, but I just think they're going to give more work to Montgomery.
I completely agree. What do you think, Gator?
Yeah, I mean, if you were on the Herbert, as far as getting the handcuffs, you better go out there and get Ebner. But I mean, for this next week at least, I think the majority of the snaps is going to go, to Montgomery. But man, if Ebner is anything that they thought he was when they got him or when they drafted him, man, you should have already had him. He should have been drafted. If for Dynasty, he should have already been drafted. And put on your taxi squad. But if you've got a deeper league and a redraft league, it's not going to hurt anything to go snag him. I mean, if they go out there, if they go out there this week and for whatever reason Montgomery 3 snaps in gets injured, I mean, we got to play this game out especially if we're competing. He gets injured, you got to have somebody, right? You got to have him, and at that point, then it's definitely going to be all Ebner. So, yeah, go get him. Go put him on your deep bench.
That's my thing. I wouldn't go get him if I'm not competing or if I'm just circling the bandwagons in the middle, but in redraft. But if I am towards the top and I am competing, I'm grabbing.
I'm gonna disagree with you for one reason and one reason only.
Getting in.
Well, no. If I'm a middle of the pack to the back end of the team, or to the league, if I go get Ebner, if I can beat you out on a waiver, and I can get Ebner
and block you,
and then you have Montgomery, and Montgomery goes down, come pay me.
Yeah.
If I can get a second for him.
Yeah, Dynasty. Yeah. Yep. Oh yeah, for that definitely. All right, so Gator, I know you're the special guest, but this one is. I put this one towards the end of the. I put this one at the end of the news purely for my boy Jamie. Jamie, you know where I'm going with this. Eno Benjamin is now a Houston Texan. What does this do, buddy? I want to hear it.
So I kind of like it, but first I want to get into like why he got cut. Like I heard he was pissed. I heard he was pissed about his diminishing role, and he made it clear that he was unhappy. Like I pictured it in my head, just tables flipping, chairs being thrown, curse words, like the worst of the worst. Because like, why else would they cut him?
Real Housewives of Arizona. Benjamin.
No, you know what I picture? I picture him going into Kingsbury's office, grabbing Kingsbury's skin like lotion and like concealer off his desk, and just throwing it in the trash.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't see it hurting Pierce that much. Maybe slightly in the passing game. But I mean, he only sees about 3 to 6 targets anyway. I can see those going to Eno. I mean, Eno right now he's the running back 12 in routes run and running back 13 in yards per reception. So I can still see that keep going for him. And maybe they use him more as a slot receiver because they do need weapons right now.
So Gator, my question to you is: does this pretty much mean the death of Rex Burkhead?
Well, I mean, I think the death of Rex Burkhead happened long before this.
But you know what I mean? But I mean, is he even on the field anymore?
Well, let's put it like this. Because you're talking about my hometown boy. Now, literally, hometown being because he's an hour, high school-wise, he's an hour from me. College-wise, he's an hour this way from me. So, yes, this is my hometown dude right here in Damian Pierce. Okay. Damian Pierce has put how many people out the pasture at this point?
Oh yeah,
no. A fourth round pick has put Marlon Mack. He's now put Rex Burkhead, and now he's fixing to put, the golden child Eno out to pasture as well. Mm-hmm. Now next year, I don't know what it's going to do for any of them because it's the Houston Texans. Who knows what's going to happen? But I mean, when I first saw it, I was kind of shocked because of how much. Damian has done in that backfield. And I think Eno does have a role to play in this. And I don't know what that role is yet, but Eno's damn good. Yep. So we shall see. But I'm a little scared that he is going to cut into some of Damian's work.
Yeah, and he's definitely going to be a high-end handcuff now.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, he's definitely a high-end handcuff.
Like
And if
he
you
was
watch-
already one, but I think this increases it.
Yeah, exactly. And I completely agree with both of you. All right, so that is the news that we have for this evening. I am done talking about news. I want to talk about games and players, and let's get into it. Last night we had the Washington Commanders go into Philadelphia and do the unthinkable, double-digit division opponent underdog. They went in and took the O away from Philly. The 1972 Dolphins can rejoice once again. They beat them 32-21. It wasn't a pretty game, but guess what? Divisional games usually aren't pretty. So that we all know what happened last night. There was the face mask that should have been a face mask, and now Goddard's hurt. There was the fumble. There was the play at the end of the game with Heineke going on one knee, and then Brandon Graham. I mean, I had 3 people literally come up to me at work today and say, "Do you think that was roughing the passer?" Yes, it was 2 seconds after he freaking touched the ground. It was roughing the passer, in my opinion. Should that be a penalty? Yes. Real quick, do you guys agree or disagree? I can already tell Gator's point.
I get it. I mean, I get it's rough in the passer.
The letter of the law is my opinion.
He was scrambling for a minute. Like he wanted to move around a little bit, and then all of a sudden he went to a knee. It's not like he slipped. So it was kind of that gray area. There was kind of that gray area there, in my opinion. I mean, I know the law, but plus I think Graham did take like 2 steps. So I mean, that's
what I saw. I saw
I don't think
boom, 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 boom.
I don't think he hit him that hard. No. But I mean, if you're gonna throw a flag, if you think back a couple weeks, and I'm a Bucs fan, so if you think back a couple weeks when the Bucs were playing Tampa or Atlanta rather, and the Grady Jarrett tackle, if you're gonna throw a flag there, you better throw a flag on that, I guess. So I mean, it could have been the same official. Who knows?
I mean, Gator. Me and Gator are in the same boat. Then, me being a Chiefs fan, that one I was on the opposite side of it. That Chris Jones penalty. If you're going to throw that flag on Chris Jones, you better call this play too. So I get your point. So let's just get into what we normally talk about for Monday Night Football. So, Jamie, what is your takeaway from Monday Night Football, my man?
All right. So I was looking at this whole game, and there was a lot of factors that led the Commanders to beat the Eagles, man. And like they controlled the clock. They won a turnover battle. There was efficient play calling. But like really stood out to me was that big McLaurin game. And what I want to talk about is the run game from the Commanders. Like we all know that rookie defensive tackle Jordan Davis was out, and I'm pretty sure he's going to be out until week 13, maybe 14. So like Philly is struggling to stop that run. Like they let the Texans run all over them the week before. Like I think they had like 170 some yards. And then the Commanders followed up with 2 rushing touchdowns against them this week. So like the Eagles need to figure something out. Like they need to plug that hole because going forward, they are facing Jonathan Taylor this week. Then they got Aaron Jones, and then Derrick Henry, and then Saquon Barkley. Like, how are you going to stop those guys? You got to figure it out. Like, even with Davis back, they're going to have trouble stopping those guys. So it's going to be a tough road for them next stretch games. So, like, what do the Eagles need to do to stop this run?
What do you think, Gator?
Like,
to stop the run. I don't know if the Eagles can stop the run. I don't know if the Eagles can stop the run at all. I mean, that thing that was pretty clear last night between Brian Robinson getting 86, and then I'm not even sure what Antonio Gibson got, but I mean, dude, that was a blueprint on how to beat this undefeated, or what wasn't the undefeated Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, the Eagles' schedule is not going to get much easier when they've got to play the Giants twice, who are a surging team, at least defensively. You've got to play the Cowboys again, so they've got some work to do. The one thing I saw in this game was the inept passing offense that the Eagles have. We talked about Jalen Hurts and him being a top 10 quarterback. And yeah, he's a top 10 quarterback, but I think it's because they haven't played a ton of great defenses. I mean, other than Minnesota, they haven't. I mean, AJ Brown last night caught one ball on 4 targets. 4 targets, caught 1 pass. And the interception that Hurts threw should have been a catch, if not incomplete, because it was in AJ Brown's hands. That was a big play. The other thing I saw was, this game last night opened up that NFC East is now wide open. Everybody is within like 3 games. So what looked to be a runaway is now a lot closer. Just 1 loss is a lot closer. Brings it all back to perspective.
Yeah, Jamie, what do you think about Gators Point and Eagles in general?
I mean, I still think they're definitely going to make the playoffs. So it's just a rough road down the road, like he said, playing Dallas and Giants twice. Like they're still going to make it with that record.
Do you see them as the NFC favorite now, or do you see the Vikings or another team?
I still think they're the favorites.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So, for my opinion on that, I do think that they got outclassed. I think the blueprint is not written, but it is in draft format for how to beat them, if that makes sense. I think people didn't know what to do. But overall, I still think they're going to be in the hunt. If they can get that defense going, I think that obviously the defense is good. But what I'm saying is we all know when it gets cold and when it gets late in January, a good defense can get you over a great defense can get you over a bad game on offense. It won't necessarily get you all the way anymore with the way plays are called, PI and all that. Like they let the offense win, but they could at least get them. If they have a bad game, you can at least get them a little bit further. Okay, so what I want to talk about is the quarterback, Taylor Heinicke. And the reason I want to talk about Taylor Heinicke is not that he's a great quarterback, because he's not. But you don't have to be when the guy behind you on the bench, and I am passionate about this, and I see Gator J's face getting that grin, because I knew as soon as I wanted to talk about this today that I was going to go on a rant, because Carson Wentz sucks. And the reason I saw this and I wanted to make this my point, and I know Jamie hit me up and said, hey, what are you talking about? Because I want to talk about X. And I said, you can fill in the gaps, but let me have my shine. And here's why. Because I saw an alert that said Carson Wentz is almost eligible to come back. Ron Rivera, I know your name is Riverboat Ron. I know you got a shit. I'm not going to get into the situation, but I know you got a shitty owner. Do something right for the city of Washington, D.C. Keep Heinicke in. Heinicke almost beat Tom Brady at one point. I'm not saying it because of that. What I'm saying is Carson Wentz is not the answer at quarterback. Period. To win games, Carson Wentz is not the answer. Heinicke does make mistakes. He reminds me a little bit of, Favre in the way of, have to be a, gunslinger, tries to make things happen. I think Washington does, just like Gator mentioned in his, that division is closer than ever. Washington has a chance on the outside to get into the playoff hunt at that 7 seed. Possibly they have a chance right now. But if you bring Carson Wentz in, you don't have a chance. You will not have a chance with Carson Wentz. Here's what I think's funny. Carson Wentz has played 6 games this season. 62% passing completion. 10 interceptions or 10 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Taylor Heinicke, 62% pass completions. If you extrapolate that to 6 games, 9 and 7. They're about the same damn quarterback. But here's what's hilarious to me. And Jamie, this is what you wanted me to tell you, buddy. I know it. And this is exactly what I know you wanted me to tell you. What's coming up for us? The fantasy football playoffs. What do we care about? We care about good players getting the points that they deserve. And you know what that means? Heineke will do better for Terry freaking scary Terry F1 McLaurin.
Yep.
So
100%.
far, this season, he had 14 catches for 250 yards in 6 games in the 4 games that he played with Wentz. With freaking Heineke, 24 catches, 370 yards in the same amount of games. Ron Rivera, if you want us to win fantasy championships and you want to win games, keep Heineke in because he's better for the team. But for more importantly for fantasy, he's better for Terry McLaurin. Jamie, what do you need to add?
Like McLaurin, man, he's a beast. And I know before Heineke even started, we were on a podcast talking about how it's going to elevate McLaurin's game. And like yesterday, we saw that. He had 8 catches for like 120 some yards. And then like people are probably wondering, but how do you do that against Darius Slay? Like, well, it was an even matchup most of the game. Like he had that 141-yard catch, but they moved McLaurin all around into the slot inside. Darius Slay did not follow him into the slot, and that's where he did most of his damage. So I think the Commanders put out that blueprint, like you said, to beat the Eagles. Like that's what you got to do. Just move your best player around.
And that's my issue is just in that. Gator, I know I gave a passionate speech, but what do you have to add?
I don't know what to say.
I think you covered it all.
I think your rant was dead on, man. I think it was dead on. I mean, listen, the Taylor Heineke, you looked at it last year. Taylor Heineke came in at the end of the year with some injuries and all, and did a pretty damn good job. So, I mean, how did this whole Wentz thing get? I don't know. Whatever. Wentz is done, in my opinion. Yep. If they bring Wentz, if Ron Rivera riverboats this thing again, it's gonna sink the ship there in Washington. I mean, I just don't even know what that was a great rant. That may have been one of the best rants that I've been on a pod and somebody's done when I'm live with them. Dude, that was awesome. Thanks, Mike.
I'll just say this. I've decided that's not going to be, there's going to be a rant at the end of the show as well.
All right.
So, and
I get a twofer tonight.
You get a twofer, and I think Jamie knows where I'm going with this. But just like Riverboat Ron has regrets, so do fantasy owners. Jamie, what is your regret of the week?
All right. So I have this dynasty team. I'm stacked from top to bottom, man. So I had to choose in my flex between DJ Moore and Christian Kirk. Now, DJ Moore was going into the Thursday night game, and I figured, oh, well, Atlanta's secondary sucks. Maybe he'll go off. Totally regret that. Like, I got a feeling, like, I pretty much panicked and was like, I'm putting him in.
Hey, Jamie.
But
Jamie.
Yeah.
As much as Atlanta's secondary sucks, the quarterback core of Carolina sucks even worse.
Yeah, I agree. But
the defense of this team sucks.
The thing is, all year I had DJ Moore on my bench, and this is the one time that I put him in because I think he had a good game the previous week, right? So maybe that's what was going through my head. But like, I was even thinking like Kirk's a top 10 receiver on the year. I loved his matchup. So I'm thinking if the game was on Sunday and I had to choose between them on Sunday, I think I would have went Kirk. I just panicked and I ended up losing by 5 points. Like Kirk had that 30-some point game. Yeah. And here's the kicker, man. Going into last night's game, I was down by 12. And I had Miles Sanders and A.J. Brown left in my lineup to play, and I lost by 7 points.
Okay, I just want to add one thing to this discussion. Jamie, Christian Kirk was playing the Chiefs. What were you freaking
I know.
thinking?
I love that matchup. I
don't know what I was. What did I say about Travis Etienne? I was a little off on Etienne, but I said Etienne and Kirk were going to eat.
Yeah, that's why it's a start sit
I
regret.
know.
And
Exactly. I
I'll
agree.
never make that decision again, man. Like
All right,
DJ Moore
Gator.
is staying on my bench.
All right, Gator. First time on the show. What's your regret?
This is a hard one because I said in the potathon, like where you first saw me on camera, I thought this dude was going to be RB1 on the year, and that's DeAndre Swift. And I mean,
me and you both, Gator. Me and you both.
He's been anything but. I don't even know what his stats were, but he was like 7 yards total this week. Man, and so I lost a matchup by 3 points. Thanks to DeAndre Swift only getting me whatever 4 points or whatever he got me. And then Nico Collins is over there sitting on my bench, just clogging up a bench spot. Going, put me in, coach. And he goes out there and pops off for 17 points. It would have put me into a guaranteed playoff spot in one of my leagues. And instead, it did not because of my own stupidity. So thanks for allowing me to vent and not quite as good as your vent, but it was hurtful. It was definitely hurtful because now I'm wondering if I'm going to be like the 3 seed instead of the guaranteed 1 seed in that league over one sit.
So I got 2. I got 1. Okay, I don't have an actual regret, but I do have something that is pissing me off. So that's where I'm going with this one. And no, this is not my rant. So I'm in a league. I am now in 5th because of what happened. So playoff is 6. I'm that close. It's a league on sleeper. We have the median. Okay. If I would have won both matchups, the matchup and the median, I would have been in 3rd, but it dropped me to 5th because of overall points. Here's the issue with that, Gator. My total, I beat the guy 155 to 117. My final score was 155.14.
Median's 156.3.
155.34. I missed the median by 0.2.
Oh, that's rough.
So the team
But
that I had
1-1 for the week.
I'm 1-1 for the week, but because of everything, people going 2-0. Everyone with me went 2-0. Here's what stinks, and there's nothing you can do. Kyler Murray was on. It was super flex. Kyler Murray. I mean, I didn't play Kyler, but with Kyler out, I probably would have got. That doesn't help. But the one that really killed me was where it just went away. So he had Cooper Kupp, and I still lost. I had Christian Kirk, and I lost on the median. I had Foster Moreau, who did better than most tight ends, and I did decent. Colt McCoy only got me 12. Carr got me 17. But guess what? I had to play DJ Moore, Sutton, and the other one that was it. So that was the tough one there. And then the other tough one that bugged me, and Jamie, you already know about it. Well, you know how close the matchup was. I lost Gator. So I lost that, right? You think that's my worst beat of the week, right?
You can't have a better one than that.
126.78. I lost. 126.4 was mine. I lost.
So you lost
by 0.38.
0.3.
Oh.
Wow.
And the thing that sucked was
that was Scott Fishbowl, and that put you out of the playoffs.
No, it wasn't Scott.
Okay.
Scott's okay, but Scott is close. I have 11 wins. What's the break? Is it 13, Jamie?
13.
13,
yep.
and then it goes off of points. Yeah.
And this is the last week, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm at 11.
Oh.
He had 126.78, and he had Justin Fields, Christian Kirk, and Dak Prescott. So if it wasn't for those 3 guys, I would have won. But there's literally nothing you can do when it gets to that point. There's just nothing you can do. So we've gone over our regrets. We've gone over Monday Night Football. Now we just like to talk about whatever the hell we want to talk about as football fans. So, Jamie,
yep.
I know yours and Gators are on the same somewhat same team, same city. But
Yep.
what do you think about the quarterback situation? And then we'll lead right into Gator.
All right, so I'm ready to put Justin Fields ahead of Trevor Lawrence in dynasty rankings right now. Like 100%. Like going into that 2021 rookie draft, there was 5 quarterbacks drafted in the first round, and also in Superflex leagues, they all went in the first round in all my rookie drafts. So we had Trevor Lawrence, Trey Lance, Fields, Zach Wilson, and Mac Jones, right? Like Lawrence was the consensus number 1 in all the drafts that I was in, and then the other ones were just all over the place. So like going into startup drafts this year, Lance was the first one off the board, and then like 2 rounds later, you're getting Trevor Lawrence, and then a round or 2 after that, I was grabbing Fields in like the 6th round in startup drafts this year. Like one I took him in the end of the 5th, one I took him middle of the 6th. That's a steal, man. Especially compared to Lance being drafted in the 2nd round of the startup draft. And now look at him. Like who would have thought? I know I wasn't thinking he was gonna be what he is now, but like I have to put him number 1 quarterback in that class over Lawrence. And like, where do you guys have him?
What do you think, Gator?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm 100% with you. The thing with Fields, and real quick question, Mike, is that an Ohio State hat you have on your head?
No.
Okay, thank God. but with Fields, you know,
I'm glad I didn't wear my Ohio State hat.
I know, right? So
no.
So Zach and I are pretty close. We were actually out on, we actually had a phone conversation this afternoon, and we were talking about a couple different things, and one of them we brought up was Fields. And you think back to when Fields was at Ohio State, and I think I may have brought this up on a previous podcast somewhere. When Fields was back at Ohio State with Ryan Day, they did not allow him to leave the pocket.
Thank you.
And
thank you.
So he was constantly passing from the pocket. They were trying to turn him into a solid pocket passer. And I think, honestly, when Eberflus, I think it's Eberflus is the head coach in Chicago, right?
Yes,
okay.
Correct.
So Eberflus about 3-4 weeks ago went to Justin Fields and was like, look, dude, so this is what we're going to do this weekend practice. You're not going on the field, period, the end. We are doing 8 hours of film study, and you're going to watch Jalen Hurts, you're going to watch Lamar Jackson, you're going to watch this guy, and you're going to watch so-and-so for 8 hours, and you're going to watch how they manipulate the pocket and then take off and run. This is your job for the next week. And since they've done that and allowed him to actually manipulate that pocket and move around, Justin Fields is not only running for 100+ yards every single game, but he's able to pass the ball down the field. He's able to open people up just by his foot movement and being able to get around offensive or defensive linemen and manipulate the defensive backs. So I'm 100%. I mean, I got Justin Fields. I think in my rankings right now, I think I have him somewhere around 6 or 7 overall.
Overall, I have him at I think 9 or 10 overall.
Okay, so to wrap this one up, I am not disagreeing with you guys whatsoever. What I will say first thing I want to say is this, and I'm going to give credit where credit is due. Campus to Canton, their Devi debate podcast, they were talking about CJ Stroud versus Bryce Young. And one of the guys on that show, I can't remember his name, is a diehard, unfortunately, a diehard Buckeye fan.
That's Matt Bruning.
Yes, Bruning. Yeah, it is Bruning. But Bruning brought up the fact that he has Young ahead of Stroud right now, partially because the exact same freaking reason that you just brought up, Gator. He said on the pod last week that Ryan Day is not letting Stroud be Stroud, and he's afraid that it's going to do the same thing that it did to Fields and take a year or 2 years to get him, that he's going to have to get fixed, like you just said about Eberflus fixing Fields. What I want to bring up is the other player that you brought up, Jamie. I have no problem what you guys are saying about Fields. You guys have already said enough about Fields. I don't need to go any more into Fields. I think people are giving up on Trevor Lawrence too fast.
Well, I'm not giving up on him. I just moved him.
I'm saying no. But there are a lot of people that are giving up on him. I'm not saying you are, but Urban Meyer, Coach Voldemort, the coach not named mentioned, ruined him last year, in my opinion.
Yep.
That guy should never coach ever again. But he ruined him. Now you come in, you have another system. You have the offensive line is not great. We can all agree with that. Yes, you have Christian Kirk and you have Travis Etienne. But in all reality, he doesn't have great weapons on the outside. Christian Kirk, in my opinion, is a good 1A, but he's not a top. He's a top 10 in fantasy, but he's not a top 10 in reality.
Yep.
And I think that's what Trevor Lawrence needs. He needs another year, I think. Zach says it all the time that he gives rookie quarterbacks 3 years. That's one reason I think Belichick is going to give Mac Jones, another year, no matter what happens. So all I wanted to bring up on this one is the fact that I think some people are giving up on Trevor Lawrence too fast. I know you're not saying that. I just think there's other people on the outside that are. Well, we just talked about Justin Fields, but Justin Fields has an amazing talent at one position. Gator, go for it, because I completely agree with you.
Man, I've been on this guy for 2.5 years now, and they say it's I guess it's in the fantasy football Bible that it takes the third year for a tight end to break out. And Cole Kmet, it's taken 2.5, and he's doing it over the last 3 games, 5 touchdowns. I mean, he's tight end 2, I think, overall in the last 3 weeks. Man, he's tight end 10 on the year. And I know that tight end 10 is not hard to accomplish, especially this year between the injuries and just not showing up, and the Kyle Pittses are invisibles and, whatever. But he's still, Cole Kmet is actually doing what we thought Cole Kmet should do a year and a half ago when he came, or 2 years ago when he came out of Notre Dame. And now he's showing up on the field. I do believe this is all, it is incorporated, or, it relates back to the film study with Fields and him going, okay, let me start moving my feet while I'm in the pocket. And as soon as Fields goes to move his feet, now that he's getting 160 yards a game rushing, the linebackers have to come up. And guess who that leaves wide open in the middle of the field?
Right across the middle. Right across the middle.
Look, we were like 0 touchdowns for the first, 7 weeks? And in the last 3, he's gotten 5. Now, at the same time, he's caught 5. Justin Fields has rushed for 5. There's some correlation there, in my opinion.
No, and I'll be honest. I said last year when everyone was like at the beginning of this year, when everyone was like, this is, everyone knows at least one person that's a part of the Cole Kmet club. All of us know at least one person a part of the Cole Kmet club. But when everyone was going, Cole Kmet's the next guy, Cole Kmet's coming out, Cole Kmet's coming out, Cole Kmet's going to break out. I thought the only way that Cole Kmet broke out is exactly what you said. Not the running part, but to me, Cole Kmet would not break out if Fields didn't break out. And Fields absolutely bombed for whatever reason the first part of the year, and then we know what's happening now. So I think that, like you said, there's some correlation, and in my opinion, I'm like, me and you are on the exact same page on this one. Jamie, do you have anything to add about Cole?
I just love Kmet, man. The talent's there, but I don't think the touchdowns are going to be sustainable the way they are. But he's still going to get his targets. He's still going to get his catches and his yards and touchdowns here and there. But when I was looking at it, I think he had 11 catches for 5 touchdowns. That's like a touchdown every 2 catches. He had 15 targets with those 5 touchdowns. So he's not going to catch a touchdown every 3 targets. but he's still going to be a top 10 fantasy like every week from now on, man. If Fields can keep it up, like 100% agree. Like I love me some Komet.
Yeah, and I think that with the looking crystal ball here, you're looking into the next year. They've got the most cap space. I mean, they've got $100 million in cap space.
Yep, 101.
So you can fix a lot of problems with $100 million, even on a football team, And it doesn't all have to be skill position. You can go fix both defensive line, offensive line, and make a robust offensive line so that your running game is good. And once your running game's good, without your quarterback running, add that quarterback running in there, and now it opens up all of the shots. Let your tight ends come across the middle. Let you have some 9 routes. Let you have some crossing routes. Now that they're allowing Fields and Komet to work together, you got Claypool now with a full game. Give him another week or two with the playbook. You got Mooney. So, I mean, they're starting to build something in Chicago that it's going to be kind of scary here in the next probably 2-3 years.
Yeah, and I think it's going to take a little bit of time, but I mean, for that reason, I think Chicago is starting to do things the right way. Yes, people are upset, mainly Chicago fans, and I get it. They're upset about getting rid of Roquan, and they're upset about getting Robert Quinn and all that. But at the same time, Roquan didn't want to be there. Roquan was probably not going to be there next year, so you might as well start
Get something for him
and push the rebuild, because you have the $101 million. You're able to get some of those picks back that you've lost in other deals. So I completely agree. So Gator, I know you watch the show every week, which we completely appreciate. So you know that I usually like to go and give a little bit of find something goofy stats that is going to help me pick a player. Well, running back situation on defense. Here we go. This is what I'm diving into. So, point PPR adjusted fantasy points allowed for running backs. But here's what's funny: the worst team against running backs is Houston. Okay, against running backs is Houston overall. They're playing Washington. So I think Gibby and B-Rob are going to probably eat, because we know Houston's defense isn't good anyway. But against rushing running backs, just rushing, they're also worst. Chargers are 31st, but they're playing my team, and we know the Chiefs don't run the ball. We'll get into that in a little bit. Hint.
There's the rant.
There's the rant. Chicago's 30. But when you go to pass catching running backs, can you guess the worst team in the league against pass catching running backs fantasy points was? And all I'm going to say is they're playing a very good running back this week.
Oh my God. But worst against pass running backs.
Is it the Dolphins?
Nope.
Is it an AFC team? Because I was thinking Tennessee.
No.
Okay.
Tennessee
The
is
Rams.
Tennessee is third to last. You're close.
Ooh, okay, the Rams.
Nope. It is the Arizona Cardinals who are going against CMC on Monday night.
Arizona still has a team out there? I thought they folded that.
Well, they're playing in Mexico City, so
I thought they relegated that team to Big 12 or something.
But I'm not disagreeing, but here's what's funny. They're playing Christian McCaffrey.
Oh, is he still playing? Isn't he old?
Gator, I'm going to jump through the screen and grab that Gator head behind you and chomp your head off. CMC is the man still. Why? Because he's on my teams. And I need him to perform this week. I think we all do. But I think, yeah, go ahead.
I hope everybody that's in the new league that I just joined hears you say that, so that they'll pay me for CMC.
Okay.
Keep going. Keep going.
No, so I think CMC is going to have a good week. Everyone was saying, he only had 20 touches, or not only 20, but he had 20 and Elijah had 18. You don't need CMC. I don't want CMC to have 30 touches because he's going to get hurt. I think they're playing it right, but I think he's going to get – if Elijah Mitchell gets more carries, but CMC still gets his touches, guess what? In most leagues, you're playing at least half-point PPR. I'll take that half-point extra every freaking play. So I have no problem with them using him that way. And the other team that I want to make sure who they're playing this week, or do they have a bye? Seattle not playing,
Well,
right?
real quick. Yeah, Seattle's on
Yes.
a bye. Real quick, I love that. I think truly that we've all bashed, as analysts and as fans and all that, we've all bashed the Shanahan style of running back core, with what they had. Now with CMC and Elijah Mitchell, Elijah Mitchell's still coming off of that, just coming off that injury. You've got two very, 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 very good backs. One is a top two. If you can use them as, if you're going to run the ball 40 times, why wouldn't you 2020? Yep. That just that makes perfect sense especially when you're up. Hey, sit number two. Sit CMC for, if you're up by 14, sitting for a quarter.
Yeah.
Let him rest
because he keeps him fresh.
He is that injury prone.
Yeah.
And then when he comes back in, he'll be 100% as opposed to being all like huffing, puffing. Just let him rest, man. Let him get his stamina back up.
So, and the other one I want to bring
as
up,
fantasy managers, we get bent. As fantasy managers, we get bent out of shape when our player sits a bench for a quarter.
Yep.
Whereas we got to look. We also have to think about it as the same. This is they don't care about our fantasy teams.
No, they don't.
Yep.
And before we get into the next segment, the only other player that I want to bring up, and he's not a running back, he's a quarterback. And the only reason I want to bring him up is because he has not been very good this year. His team has not been very good this year. But I do think he's going to have a good game this week because he is going against a division opponent who is the worst team against quarterbacks. And give me, for this week and this week only, give me Russell Wilson. He's going against the Raiders who suck. And they're reeling. They are reeling so bad that this is the funny part. You guys want to hear something else in my little statistical diving over the afternoon? Winning percentage, opponents' winning percentage so far this season. Detroit has had the toughest schedule at 60.5 winning percentage, and their record shows it, right? Wouldn't you say that the Raiders are one of the worst teams in the league?
Yeah, of course.
Record-wise, they're one of the worst teams, right?
Yeah, talent-wise too, kind of.
They're the second easiest schedule, and they still suck.
Oh, wow.
Second easiest schedule in the league, and they still suck. That's why I think Russell Wilson is actually going to have a decent game.
I do like that Russell Wilson call, man. Like I was looking at his matchups.
Just this week.
If you look at the rest of his schedule, it's all green lit.
Is it?
Yep. And then I was looking at Sutton. I'm trying to buy Sutton in one of my dynasty leagues that I'm competing in. I offered a third round and Michael Gallup, and the guy's like, let me think about this. I'll get back to you.
Okay.
So I was going to offer a second. It would have been a late second, but I was like, let me do this first. And then he's actually thinking about it. So.
All right. So
he's going to come back with a second.
We'll see.
And you'll pay that price.
But no Michael Gallup then. It's a straight second, and I'll pay that.
So Zach isn't here tonight, and I was waiting for this. I was waiting for one thing from Zach and only one thing. But since Zach's not here, Jamie is going to do it for us. Jamie, I am just going to sit here and listen to you talk about Zach's favorite player of all time.
This is in honor of Zach, so I had to do it. So everyone in our leagues right now are going to be fighting over Christian Watson after he ended the week as a top 5 receiver. He caught 4 of his 8 targets only. So imagine if he would have caught more. But he had 107 yards, 3 touchdowns. He also had another possible touchdown catch he could have made, but he just wasn't looking at it when it was coming his way. But right now, the Packers are fighting for that playoff spot, and they actually looked good last week, even with that horrible receiving options they had. But like now, it finally looks like someone stepped up as the number 2 behind Allen Lazard, and like Watson played 84% of the snaps. I think it was like 54 total, 55 total. Sammy Watkins only played 21 snaps at 33%. Like that's a great sign for this rookie going forward. Like he's finally earning the trust of Aaron Rodgers. So like, and Christian, his usage is going to continue to increase the rest of the season with Romeo Doubs missing the next 4 weeks, and Randall Cobb's still out, right? Yeah. I don't know even if he's coming back.
He's on IR.
Yeah. So like, don't be afraid to slide him into your lineup this week as a flex because he's going against Tennessee. And the way to take down the Titans is to like abandon that run. Like you said, they're the second hardest against the run. And like you got to beat them through the air. So like I don't see him repeating a 3 touchdown game, but you definitely have a chance to outproduce like your other flex options that you would be putting in your lineup. Like especially against the Titans' weak secondary.
For sure.
So definitely get them, play them if you have to, plug them in.
Gator, what do you think about Christian Watson?
All right. So again, going back to my previous conversation with Zach on the phone, big of I mean, we couldn't stop talking. I mean, we were both a little hyped about Christian Watson. Here's what I loved about Christian Watson. You remember a few weeks ago when, and I want to say it was a primetime game where Travis Kelce caught 4 touchdowns and he was 1, 2, 3, 4 in the end zone. That was probably the best Christian Watson impersonation that Travis Kelce did prior to Christian Watson actually doing it, with the 1, 2, 3. So his first touchdown, this real touchdown was yesterday, or I'm sorry, Sunday. And you look back to week 1, that same play was called. Christian Watson dropped the ball.
That was the one he dropped.
That was the one he dropped. There's this narrative out there that Aaron Rodgers does not like rookie wide receivers. Well, he's got no choice. He's got 2 of them. Dubs is hurt. Looking at Christian Watson right now. The first 2 weeks he got 7 targets, caught 5 balls. Not horrible for a rookie. But it's now into the second half. And now he's starting to warm up a little bit. Over the last 3 games, he's only had combined 11 targets. Well, Jamie just told you he was 4 of 8 on Sunday.
Yeah. Yep.
He was 100%, 1 for 1 and 2 for 2 against Buffalo and Detroit in the 2 games before. Man, I'm telling you right now, this dude is going to be on a heater the rest of the year.
Yep.
Christian
He's an
Watson,
athletic freak, man.
Christian Watson is going to be a beast.
Yep, and he's only 17% owned right now, I think.
Well, that's their fault. I got him.
On sleeper, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're talking about Christian Watson, who's a wide receiver. I want to go back to the beginning of the show. I said that we would get more into the Cooper Kupp discussion. Cooper Kupp is on the IR. That means that whoever it is, if it's Wolford or if it's Matthew Stafford, they're going to have to throw to somebody. And guess what? Gator J is going to tell you who that guy is.
It's going to be Allen freaking Robinson. It's going to be Allen Robinson the rest of the way. Man, this is, I was on Allen Robinson to start the year when he got traded over there, when he signed over there. It's really been rough going, but as most solid offenses, you've got a number 1 wide receiver, and they run the show. And Cooper Kupp has done that, just like he did last year. He's done it again this year. He's dominating the target shares. And now that there is no Cooper Kupp, we got to have somebody catch the ball. And it's going to have to be Allen freaking Robinson. Allen Robinson is the guy for the rest of the way with. Here's the thing. They put Cooper Kupp on IR. They're what, 5-4, something like that. The Rams.
He's not playing he's not playing unless they go
That's
on like
exactly
a 5-game, unless they go like on a 5-game winning streak.
And then why would you play him then? Because now Allen Robinson is going to be on a heater anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, so you can go ahead and I own Cooper Kupp in a few leagues that I'm just like, well, shoot, there goes that. I'm not dropping him, just in case. But I'm not gonna. What are you gonna sell him for at this point? I'm not gonna do it. So I'm just gonna throw him on the IR. Hope and pray that he comes back in 5 weeks, and hope and pray that the Rams can figure this shit out, and they can make a playoff run, even if it's only for 2 weeks, where I can use him. But if you're at that, well, shoot, I've got to make this push because I can't count on him. Or if you're that guy like I was talking earlier, there's a Cooper Kupp owner out there and he's got a decent second. Go get Allen Robinson now if he's out there on your waivers. Go get Van Jefferson if he's out there on your waivers and push him. Who knows what's going to happen with other wide receivers? Go grab him, let him sit there on your bench or play him, whatever, and then trade him to the Cooper Kupp owner.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean that's how it goes. So here we go, people. I am gonna have bring this up real quick before I
All right. I want to go off of Gators, man, because one thing I noticed, he's been playing like over 90% of the snaps all year. He just doesn't get targeted that much. But now that Cooper Kupp's going to be off the field, they're going to have to target him. He is the most talented receiver. Like you can't tell me that Ben Skoronek's more talented or Van Jefferson's more talented than Allen Robinson. And the one thing that stuck out to me was his red zone targets. He's wide receiver 7 this year with just red zone targets. So they do target him in the red zone. He's going to get those touchdowns. Like I know he only has like 2 this year so far, but I could see him getting like 2 a game here on out.
Yeah, going back to like what you said about Komet, that you can't sustain the Komet can't sustain the like touchdown.
Positive regression as opposed to negative regression.
Positive, correct.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yep. All right, Mike.
All right, so.
All right, everybody, get in your seats. Let's settle down. Get your popcorn. Get you a beer. Mike's rant is here.
So this is about my waiver wire ad, and it's not the one I wrote up in the article for going for 2, but I am going to talk about somebody else before I talk about him. If I told you there was a player A that had in week 1 10 touches for 74 yards and 2 touchdowns, and in week 2 he had 12 touches for 108 yards and no touchdowns, and then in week 3 had 12 touches for 40 yards and 1 touchdown. But then I told you that same guy in the last 2 weeks, 2 weeks ago, had 5 touches for 19 yards. And in this last game, had 0 touches for 0 yards. Wouldn't you say that that's a surprise?
You would think, but
no, hold on,
I think I know here.
Yeah, you know where I'm going.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
That is a surprise.
Okay, overall, that's a surprise. You know why it's not a surprise? Because it's the wrong running back that the damn Chiefs drafted. Because they should have drafted the guy that Gator brought up in the beginning of the show. And I am talking about Clyde Edwards freaking Hilaire. So if you watch the Footballers podcast, every Monday they do a segment about puns of players' names. Mine didn't get entered. Mine didn't get on the show. But the one that I entered was Clyde Edwards Nowhere.
Oh, that's a good one.
Because he was absolutely nowhere last game.
Yep.
My rant, Gator, I have been against the Clyde Edwards from day one. As a rookie, they would give him the ball within the 5-yard line, and he couldn't even get to the 3. Even the last game, they gave him a red zone target, and it looked like he was a 7-year-old trying to go behind the line and didn't even want to get in. The reason I bring up this is my waiver wire ad is Isaiah Pacheco.
Yep.
Yes, he is not the greatest. I'm not saying he's, a stud guy, but when you're this deep into the year, the thing that you need on your team is depth. And when you have Isaiah Pacheco getting 16 carries for 82 yards this last week, yes, he only had 5 rushing yards and 4 receiving yards a week before. The week before his bye, he had 43. But here's the key to me, and I want to bring this back up on my sleeper app because this is what bugs me about Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Clyde, this last game that we're talking about, his snap percentage was 6. You're supposed to be 6% snap share, and you're supposed to be a first-round pick? I am sorry. That's despicable. If we pick up his 5th-year option this offseason, Brett Veach is a moron. Okay? Isaiah Pacheco, on the other hand, has been going up. He had a 56% snap share this week. Yes, he was on the fringe of being an RB3. He was RB36. I think that's going to go up a little bit. I think CH is in the doghouse for the rest of the year. I think it's McKinnon, and I think it is Pacheco, and especially Juju is out for at least 1 week, they said, because of the concussion, because he is in grade 2 concussion protocol, and it takes 10 days to get out of grade 2 in completely through. So he's going to be out at least 1 week. We still don't know about Hardman. I'm not going to get into a Tony rant because we'll need 3 hours for that. But we don't know if Hardman is out. We know that Juju's out. The reason I bring that up is the longer Juju's out, I think they're going to use McKinnon out in the flat a little bit, which opens it up for Pacheco because we know they're not using CEH. It does bug me a little bit because I don't think in the long term it's good for Isaiah Pacheco to be an inside the tackle running back. Jamie, you've heard me say that.
Yep.
But the problem is the inside the running – Gator, tell me if you agree with me. We do have an inside the tackle running back on the roster, but we're not using him. He's from down where you're at. His name is
Ronald
Rojo
Jones.
So why are we doing this? It drives me nuts. It's Andy Reid's MO, but because of Andy Reid's MO and Eric Bieniemy's MO, if he's still on your waiver wire, go get Isaiah Pacheco.
I love that call, man. Like I like to do his profile. Like he runs a 4.3 something. Plus he's strong, dude. That dude's got muscle. He put up 27 on the bench. That's in the 90th percentile of all rookies this year. Yeah. So with that speed and the strength, I like that, man. But the thing is, he's been game scripts. It's all about the game script.
It's all game script.
Yeah. So we never know when we're going to see him.
But at least we know when we're going to see CH, and that's never.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of feelings about this little rant you just had because.
Go for it.
So John, that's over in the chat over there, we're in a league together. And unfortunately, we had our startup last year prior to the season. And, I took, Alvin Kamara. I had the 4 pick. So I took Alvin Kamara, and it's a 14-team league. Okay. So, 1 quarterback, but running backs went off the board pretty quick. And then so whatever it was, 210, I guess it was, comes back to me, and CEH is sitting there staring at me, and I'm like, well, I know he didn't have a great rookie season, but yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and take him. And he didn't have a good sophomore season, and then all of a sudden, I don't know what happened. Maybe Rojo getting there, and he had a great first 3 weeks, like you said in your little rant there. And I was getting a little excited, and I was like, well, everybody's telling me I should trade him, and I thought about trading him, and I tried to trade him, and then nobody wanted to take him, and then all of a sudden he fell like a rock.
Yep.
And now I'm at the bottom of the barrel holding on to a second round draft pick in my fantasy team. And I'm like, so I have feelings. My feelings are hurt. And I know as a Kansas City fan, your feelings have to be hurt. And I'm just a fantasy manager at this point. And I'm like, my feelings are nothing compared to yours, Mike, because you're an actual KC fan and you're sitting there watching that backfield look like, garbage.
Well, like I've said before, if we would have taken him in the end of the second round, I would have been okay. But the point of, and this has nothing to do with the waiver wire rant, it has to do with the actual CEH rant, is you literally had, and I know you'll agree, because I know Jamie agrees with it. Me and Jamie have talked about this multiple times. It's the simple fact that you drafted CEH with JT and DeAndre Swift on the board. That is my issue with the whole thing. That's my issue with him falling like a rock, like you mentioned. That's my issue with him not being able to run in between the tackles. That's my issue with him not being able to run in the red zone. I don't care if it's the last pick of the first round. If you draft a guy in the first round, he better be an all-around back, and he is not.
100% agree, man.
Yeah, here we go again. I agree. I agree 100% with that, because here's the thing. You sit there and you say JT Swift, CEH. I mean, it doesn't matter. 4 years from now, 3 years ago, who are you taking? You're probably going to take Swift and JT before CEH, no matter what. Whether you hindsight 2020 or foresight, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't know what the Chiefs were thinking when they did that. I don't think they cared because they had Patrick Mahomes or they were getting Patrick Mahomes, and
you know what they were thinking?
Andy Reid is such a genius when it comes to this. He could care less about a backfield. He doesn't need a backfield.
No, I know exactly what they were thinking. 30 minutes before the draft started, a certain Kermit the Frog, Patrick Mahomes, called Andy Reid and said, I want CEH if he's there. This was Patrick Mahomes' doing. Because he wanted a guy that he thought could be a scat back, and it's not working, period. But that's just me being a fan.
Okay, well then, here's a stupid non-fan for you. If that's the case, Eric Bieniemy and Patrick Mahomes need to get into a room together and go, how can we use Clyde the way you want to use him?
Yeah.
I mean, that would be the smart thing. I mean, and I only know this because as a Tampa fan, I sit there and I see it on a regular, whether it's on the sideline or whether it's in practice. I got Byron Leftwich and Tom Brady, the GOAT, sitting there and constantly conversating about everything, whether it's 2 steps or whether it's 4 steps. They are conversating about everything. And it's not worked out great to this point for this year, but it has in the past. So as long as they keep communicating, and that's what it sounds like to me, is there's no communication over there between the offensive coordinator and the quarterback.
Yeah, well, I think there's a little bit of beef in there, but that's a whole nother story. Okay, so tonight's show was awesome. Gator, again, thanks for coming on. So we're just going to go round the horn, sign offs, whatever you want to say. Gator started off.
Man, you can find me over on the Bluebird app, Gator Fantasy J77. Hit me up in the DMs; they're always open. Start sets, trade questions, whatever you want to do. Wednesday nights, you can find me over at Fantasy Intervention. Jamie always hits us up in the chat. Please do that. We love having everybody over there. Thursday nights, you can find me at Dynasty Gambit right here with Going for Two. Pregame before the Thursday night game. This week is going to be an interesting game this week with Green Bay going into Tennessee. Or is it Tennessee going into Green Bay? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Tennessee goes to Green Bay this week. So it's going to be an interesting game. Green Bay coming off of a big-ass win. Tennessee, looking to bring Derrick Henry into the old frozen tundra. So we should have a decent Thursday night game for a change. 2 decent teams. So yeah, come check us out before the game. Hit us up in the chat, with questions. We do we started this new thing with Thursday nights where we're doing a Chrome Dome. Chrome Dome parlay of that where Devin, Brian, and myself all pick a nice little, whether it's a 2-leg or a 3-leg or a 4-leg parlay just for the Thursday night game. So come hit us up, come check it out. We've had some fun with it. We've hit some good parlays. We've lost a few, but we're not undefeated. But we've hit more than we've lost.
Yep. All right, Jamie, go for it, buddy.
Find me on Twitter, Jamie Perogue. And then, of course, right here, going for two on the cheat sheet every Tuesday, Sunday morning, start sit show. And then I'm also over there at the Rum Boys Fantasy Network. Just come check us out, hit us up in the chat. And I want to give a shout out to the Fantasy Facebook discussion group. Just join. We got conversations galore. Like, you won't believe it.
All right, so you know where to find me. Find me just like Gator said on the Bluebird app over at Twitter at Drop the Mic FF. You can find me here Tuesday nights as the host of the Fantasy Cheat Sheet. Go like and subscribe and comment. Like we really appreciate because it helps our algorithm. I know Jamie is going to say something when I say this next thing. You can also hit me up if you need any graphic done. I'm trying to still get stuff going.
Amazing graphics.
Some of the stuff I've done has been pretty good lately. So hit me up there if you want something, a certain player or whatever. I can even do banners. I've been doing. I actually, if you look at Jamie's banner, I did Jamie's banner.
Yep.
Other than that, you can also find me over at the Rum Boys Fantasy Network, where I pretty much do all their graphics as well right now. So for Gator, for Jamie,